Oh, hey.
Hey, what's going on, Bobby?
Hey, how you doing? Wait a minute. Let me put my camera on here. Turn my TV thing off. There you go. Am I with you?
Yep, I see you. Let me just make sure I got my sound good on my end.
Okay, cool.
What? I think I unplugged something. There we go.
Good?
Yeah, I don't know. It's saying I don't have audio, but I can clearly hear you, and I think you can hear me. So Zoom's being stupid.
Yeah, my audio is on. It's not muted or anything.
Yeah,
so.
no, we're all good. Steve will be jumping in just a couple minutes. He's just setting his mics and stuff up because he's a little bit more tech savvy than I am on my end. So, how you doing, man?
I'm sure you're both much more than me. So.
I don't want to give ourselves too much credit. He's the mastermind.
Cool, man.
Yeah, you're way more on the analog style than all this digital bullshit.
If even that. Pretty computer unsavvy.
I don't feel bad about it. I don't think my dad can even turn on a computer.
I've done a lot of Zoom interviews, so I'm used to this, but nothing more.
Well, it could be worse. I mean, that's the nice thing about Zoom. At least you don't have to show up somewhere all, dressed up and worrying about everything, if all this pandemic stuff that's going around. And
exactly. I hear you. It's easier. That's for sure.
So how you been doing through all this pandemic and everything?
You can drink Pabst.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't do it at an online, at an in-person. Right?
That's true.
Necessarily. So what have I been doing during the pandemic, you mean?
Surviving, probably. I would take it.
Just laying on my ass and wishing I was on stage. Wishing I was on the road, man. It's rough.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's really had a good time with any of this. So it's good to know that, people are getting out again. And
yeah, it looks like we're coming out of the woods.
So. Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Only took a couple of years there, but I know you guys, you got a tour lined up coming soon, right?
We have European tours. We've got one in August, and we got a South American one in September, and then another Scandinavian one in October. But we still haven't lined up anything for the U.S., which we're trying to do right now. Maybe 5 in the Northeast and 5 in the Southwest, just for May and June, just to, kind of keep things going.
Yeah, just kind of keep everything, the schedule nice and filled. So Scandinavia should probably be fun. You got to have at least a pretty decent following. It's so metal up there.
Where is that?
I said Scandinavia. It's probably got to be.
Yeah, Scandinavia is one of our biggest markets. We're going to probably have to cut some dates off of that, though, because some of the guys can't do the things the way they're scheduled out. So we're going to, catch as catch can and reschedule as what we can and so forth. South America, I'm looking forward to, though. We've never been there.
Where in South America do you think you're going to be at? I got to imagine Brazil's got to be on the list.
Yeah, it is. We're in 9 countries in 12 days.
Oh, so, shit.
A lot of flying.
That's a lot of traveling.
South America. Yeah, the predominance of South America. Yeah, because we've never been there. So, the fans go nuts for metal over there, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got bands like Sepultura and all of them, Nails, stuff like that. So,
yeah, you see stuff on Instagram constantly. I get notes from, come to Chile, come to Brazil, and they just keep saying it. So we're going to try to get that with you.
Got to make some dreams come true, right, Bobby?
That's it. I want to play all I can, while I still can play.
Yeah. And then Europe should obviously be good. I mean,
always. That's where our biggest fan base is.
That should be good. Yeah, that's awesome to hear, dude. I'm glad you're going to get back out there and get to enjoy yourself finally after a couple of years here.
Yeah, no shit. God. I'm bored stiff. I just sit around and stress about bills.
Yeah, I think that's all of us at this point, though.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a buddy. I sold my bass a while back during the pandemic because I was like, fuck, I got to pay the electric bill. An electric bass is no good if you got no electricity. So I
hear you, man. I understand totally. That's where I'm at right now. That's like I haven't worked since November of 19, So.
Well, I think
I'm an out-of-work musician, man. What can I say? It's true. Yeah.
It looks like Steve's joined in here now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm just trying to get the recorder working. First off, hello. Awesome to be talking to you.
Hi, nice to meet you, man.
I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to get this recorder working.
No, do your thing. Do your thing.
I
was already telling Bobby that you're the audio mastermind behind all of this. So
you're the tech wizard.
I wouldn't go that far. Are you already recording it through Zoom?
Yeah, I'm already got the Zoom going. I got it set so it started automatically when Bobby and I just kind of got in the room.
Perfect.
So
I might end up switching and going with that because the outboard recorder is fucking up a little bit. So
like usual. So
I notice on it's a lot easier if you guys start doing it. We did 2 in the last 2 weeks with my band. We did them on Google Meet.
That's and
they work. They're better than Zoom. It doesn't break up as much or anything.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out like different things to use to make this so much easier because we have so many different interviews planned for this little extra show we're doing and stuff. So it's we want to obviously make it sound the best for everybody that wants to listen. So we're just figuring that all out.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna give this one more shot, and if not, I'll just switch and we'll just be good to go.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
You guys, are you going to put this on YouTube or where are you going to put it?
I think on my end, I do have the video. Maybe I'll actually will put something up just for the sake of doing that. I would say it's going to be on our Patreon. So I think I will put it up though. And I'm going to put a couple little snippets on Twitter and stuff just to get people's attention with it. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't do Twitter, but I know people are on there about it.
Oh yeah. Too many people.
The biggest mass media thing, I think.
Yeah, but maybe we will put it on YouTube. I know we talked about doing a video component eventually. I might move stuff around in my recording space because it's not exactly the most exciting background right now. It's a guest bed in my recliner.
Okay, who cares? They want to see what you're asking and see the reaction and this and that. I don't think they're looking at the background that much.
I hope not, because I have a couple missing ceiling panels still at this point. So.
Hey, I'm just sitting here in bed like I always am. 98% of the time when I'm not in the kitchen stuffing my fat ass.
You still a fiend for those Fig Newtons like I've heard so many times before?
Yeah, I still eat them, as a matter of fact.
Kind of figured at the pandemic you may have gotten sick of them eating them every day, but
I don't eat them every day, but I get my shit. And cigarettes. I got to give up the cigarettes, man.
Yeah, I did that during the pandemic. That was a bitch to do, but I got through. Cold turkey and everything. That was hard. Yeah. But when you can't go to a bar or anything, it made it a little bit easier. So
it's a real bitch giving up cigarettes. Yeah, I mean I've kicked every other drug in the world, but cigarettes is real fucking hard.
Yeah. My dad's the same way. He's been smoking since he was 14 and he's 67. So
yeah. I'm 68. I've been smoking since I was 7.
Yeah, see, when I was in high school and I got caught smoking, I got in trouble for about 10 minutes, and then he found out where my stash was and started bumming them. So that's always hard.
We used to take our little pack of, back then it was Winston's. We used to take them down to the creek in the woods and sit around, when we were 7, 8 years old.
Little chain smoking circle.
Yeah, we barely inhaled them or anything like that, but it's still, kid stuff. All kids
love the smooth taste of Winston's.
Yeah, right. All kids do it though.
No, it's true. Steve, how you feeling on your sound on that end?
Yeah, I got to figure out what's going on with this thing, but I'm good to go.
All right, cool.
We got the Zoom recording. I'm just gonna also record just to get it back up. Just give me the permission, and that way we'll.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. Like,
I have to hit something on here.
No, I think I actually have to do it on my end.
Good. Good. I don't have to pull the gadgets.
Let's see. You're allowed to record local.
Mine says original sound off. Should it be original sound on?
I mean, we can hear you, anyway. So it should be recording. So
if you can hear me, okay, that's all.
Yeah, that's all that matters, I think, at this point. All right, yeah. So we have like a little opening kind of shtick, like if you're listening to Rogan or any other of those fucking talk shows, just a little thing that introducing us, introducing you, And then, we got questions lined up, but our thing is we want the conversations to be natural. Just, talk with us. Don't, that's the nice thing about Zoom. You don't have an audience. It's not that you're afraid of them, but
I hear you. Yeah, no, it's better like that. I like it more relaxed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very cool. Then we'll start off. You're all good on your end, Steve, for sure?
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
You're
cool.
Good to go.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schlocked and Loaded, our Patreon exclusive series for fans of Groovy Lil Spookshow, where I, Scott Ellis, and my co-host, of course, Steve Ercolino, open up our end of the airwaves to interview independent artists, filmmakers, musicians, and any other misfits from in and outside the horror community and beyond. We are joined today by musician Bobby Liebling, considered by many to be one of the pioneers of American heavy metal as frontman of the band Pentagram, Death Row, and recently with The Limit. While Bobby might have an aversion for the term doom metal, there is no doubt that Pentagram became one of the forerunners of the subgenre that has influenced countless bands since their arrival on the scene in the early 1970s. Bobby's story was immortalized in the 2011 documentary Last Days Here, which painted an unflinching portrait of his struggles with decades of addiction, the dissatisfactions and the directions his life wound, and his eventual triumph and return to the stage as the lead man of Pentagram. And while that description does sound cliche, after all, sex, drugs, and rock and roll can describe anyone and everyone in the genre, there is nothing more unprecedented than having the man himself join us today to share his story. Bobby, can't thank you enough again for doing this with us. I can't speak for Steve, but this is awesome for me. I've been.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah,
both. Thank you both for having me.
No problem.
Yeah, we're both big metal guys, but I've been in metal bands all my life and listen to everything under the sun. So this is pretty crazy.
That's cool.
But I do have to ask, only because it's something that, and when we're pouring over all of the old interviews and everything and something I already knew, we, like Scott eloquently put, obviously you have an aversion to the phrase of doom metal, which I get. But the thing that I find very interesting about that one specifically is that while that umbrella tends to be the genre of music that I tend to play too, so it becomes like an easy kind of thing to, if you have to describe it to someone, but there's so many other musicians that also don't like specifically that name of doom metal, more so than I find like you would with like a thrash or like another subgenre. Why do you think that specifically is that doom metal is so polarizing as a name?
Well, I see the word doom in quotes as a connotation for death.
Mm-hmm.
Death metal is different, but doom is you're doomed, you're over, you're finished.
Yeah,
you've reached the final destination. So that's one of the things I don't care for about it.
Yeah.
Do you think from the music itself, basically?
Right. do you think though that now perhaps, as it became like one of those things, like most genres, someone in a magazine somewhere wrote and they just decided to call it that and it kind of sticks. Do you think that now we're so many, not to call you old, but we're so many years out from but do you think that now that maybe that we're so many years out from that it has become useful for specific acts? Maybe still not, things you do, but yes. Do you think it's you think it might be still a useful term?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, a lot of bands seem to, that are transfixed with death itself. Mm-hmm. And that kind of thing, it fits the lyrical content for the most part. And aside from me not liking the style, basically, it's fitting. It works.
How do you feel that, obviously Sabbath is like this originator for the genre, but it's, people always talk about you and Pentagram, Candlemass, Trouble, all kind of in that same breath as kind of birthing that genre, even though you're not really quite a part. Is that something that you do find a bit of like pride or honor in, or do you not really want to be associated?
It's an honor for me because it can be considered a pioneer of a style. It's pretty, it touches your heart. I mean, people mean it as a compliment, and of course I realize that, and I embrace that.
do you think that this is like the last thing of me doing my music nerd bit of this? But do you think that there is anything in that evolution of the genre that kind of more have moved past the roots that Pentagram and other bands kind of set up that you kind of wish you would hear more of now in some of these newer acts?
The originality is gone, and the trying to think of new ideas seems to be really harbored by I don't know if people are getting stoned too much or what they're doing, but it seems like a lot of that music is for the brain dead. It's just the same old thing about the witches and the castles and undead and the spells and all that kind of stuff, and it gets kind of pretentious to me after a while. It's just, the music itself seems to be it's plodding and so slow. You can listen to it in your sleep or in a coma and absorb it all before it's
right.
So that kind of thing kind of gets to me. The original style of bands like us and like Sabbath and so forth, it had changes within the music and stuff, and dynamics a lot more. It didn't just go along 7-8 minute songs to boot on top of the whole thing just because they're slow and playing one riff over and over and over, and then it gets loud. It gets quiet in the vocals, which half the time are just and you can't understand any of the words most of the time. This is my viewpoint, of course, on all these things, but it does that. Then it gets loud and there's a lead break, but it's the same lick, the same tempo, the same everything with no changes. It's like, what happened to dynamics in music? Jesus Christ. I would think that somewhere along the line, a guy would say, wait a minute, we're playing too much of just the same thing on and on and on, and people are going to get bored with it. I feel like a lot of the bands that are doing this are maybe they're self-serving or stoned out or whatever they are in thinking that this is, it's not original, man. It just doesn't have any continuity to it. This is just the way I see it. But it's the bands originally that were doing heavy rock music, as I like to put what we play. You hear a fast song, a slower song, a tempo change, beat change, things like that. Chord progression will go to a couple of licks instead of just plodding along. That just makes it unoriginal to me. It's like, pretentious is the best word I keep using,
Yeah, I think you make kind of a really good point in a way, because like bands like Sabbath, Blue Cheer, you guys, Cathedral, Candlemass, all of that, there is at least some sort of, I guess, crossing the Rubicon, so to speak, of like this new like land that was kind of discovered with this music.
Well, yeah, because it was uncharted territory also at the time. And so therefore now it is really a lot harder to me to find that avenue to branch out within the song and change up on things here and there. But somebody's got to have the mindset to think, God damn, let's get out of the same old da, and do something about it. Make it fresh.
Yeah, I didn't just drop from the call, by the way. I had to go into my Pro Tools and delete all the songs I was working on based on your recommendations.
Oh, no.
I told you had to do at least 6 or 7 notes, Steve. 4 was just not enough.
No. But are there any bands that are around now that you think are kind of adequately carrying that torch, or?
I haven't heard virtually any. It just, everywhere I go and every time I get turned on to something that's called, in quote, doom metal, it doesn't have the diversity that the older stuff did, and of course, like I say, though, that's largely, I think, in the fact that there was uncharted territory. It really was. It was new ground, new stomping ground, new exploration of things, but but that doesn't mean you're not supposed to still explore. There's places in the woods that people haven't seen.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Let's check it out. At least try it.
I think that's part of the inherently difficult thing with like all forms of art, where once something new gets made, a lot of people then want to make that thing, but then it doesn't become new anymore. And so despite it being like good and them being musically proficient or even still nice to my ear, like part of the thing is not to say that any of the music that was made was bad, but like Sabbath led to the evolution that led to you guys, which led to the evolution that kind of led to some of these other bands, and then all of that stuff continued to evolve. And so I think the point that you make of especially people staying on the same thing, I think it's because it's like, yeah, they want to keep making music. Yeah.
Purgatory, I think, is actually a really good word for that.
Yeah.
And I think too, you've got to probably have, not, I don't want to even say a soft spot, but like a protective nature, like, like a father figure, because this is kind of a genre, like you're one of the parents of it, so you want the best for your child when you see them just being like everybody else.
That's really brilliantly put. I like the way you said that. Yeah,
you heard that for your first, everybody. I finally said something brilliant on the show, so just
you do, you want the best for your kids, and when I hear the kids are kind of like skipping school a lot or whatever, it doesn't ring in too well. That's all, I'm old fashioned like that. I want the best, So let's practice more and let's think of some changes and let's diversify. Let's, get some continuity in there and some dynamics.
The thing I find is like a lot of the bands that come out nowadays that do say that they're a doom metal band that I really like, within an album or two they don't really fit the modern name of doom metal because they are the few ones that are moving out of it. Like bands like Pallbearer and Chemist are like really good, and they start and they have like, this is their doom metal album, but then the thing after it sounds almost completely different and it just keeps going.
Yeah, well, that moves back to wanting to explore. I mean, that at least that's why I don't like all the subgenre stuff now. This metal, that metal. There's how many kinds of metal can there be? Jesus, there's only copper, zinc, iron. God damn, it gets really pretentious, man. It does. Yeah.
But again, I wonder what your input on that is, because you don't see that with other genres of music that as much. You don't see there being these infinite subdivisions. There are, but I mean, like,
I think that's largely because people like us don't explore those into their genres deep.
Sure, but even if you talk about like jazz, there's like jazz and there's hard bop and bebop, and like there's the little small things that are very different from each other. But metal, you always have like, well, this is sub-Saharan death folk, like.
Yeah, one of the labels that I'm with and have done records for and stuff, they have this stuff like it's Andalusian Nazi prog thrash, slow graveyard metal. It's like,
I think it is something that's really specific to metal in a way that there is a fun of like the nomenclature, just coming up with like these ridiculous names for genres of what you're doing, because you don't know what to describe it as and you don't know how to get out of that bubble. So you're just like, if I just throw a bunch of names around, people will find it and they'll think it's cool, which I don't think is a very it's kind of counterproductive at the end of the day.
I think maybe it's almost like this kind of like self-protective thing, because metal guys for a long time were always kind of felt like they're on the outskirts, whether they actually were or they just felt that they were being outcast, because like once you got to the 90s,
I think we were in
the beginning you guys definitely were.
It came from the hippie culture,
right?
And hippies were outcasts to start. I'm a hippie,
right.
So I was there, and when things started first, when people started throwing rocks at you and beating you up and stuff like that, you felt like, God, I must be an outcast, getting hurt.
Yeah, especially then. I mean, then it makes a lot more sense to have that feeling, but then it evolves and you get into the 90s and 2000s, and there's so much metal now that you're not really like an outcast just for liking metal, but there's like this thing intrinsic to metal that you're supposed to have that feeling of being outcast. So you almost
I think
make up
that's a lot
genres.
a lot of that though comes from social media and the connotations of being politically correct and politically in line with the stars of what you're doing, you know, and if you step off that platform just a little bit, it's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, you know, they didn't do it anymore, you know, they crossed us up, you know, it's
Yeah.
like traitors, you know, and it's like, well, so what? People like to explore, man. We're a
Yeah.
curious animal. Come on.
What kind of effects have social media had on both you as a just as a person, but also as your band, in the way that you, in your various projects, in the ways that you have to portray them online or deal with that?
Well, you got to watch your step. You got the Facebook police and Instagram police and Meta Corporation, you know, and like they're running the world now, and they're telling you what you kind of can and can't say. It's a form of censorship in a broad sense. And on the other hand, it helps because you can reach people around the world when it used to be word of mouth or your telephone is connected to the wall, and when you're
Right.
outside your house, there's no social connection at all. So, you know, as far as from a marketing standpoint, fantastic,
Yeah.
because you branch out, and you know, and there's a lot of people out there in the world, but it also, you know, confines you, because within the social media context, it's what's politically correct and what's not, you know. That's
Well, it's
what
kind of interesting too. If you talk about social media, like I found Pentagram as an impressionable high school kid on MySpace, you know, stumbling around trying to find cute girls and stuff, and finding someone playing, you know, Forever My Queen as their profile song and being like, this shit's fucking heavy. This is awesome, you know. But I kind of don't disagree with you a lot on that, because there is a certain, whether it's algorithms or whatever, you know, you always kind of have an eye on you, and that's got to be kind of unnerving, especially like you said, you come from the hippie era where, you know,
yeah,
it
it's
was
like Big Brother
counterculture.
looking around was the object of the whole cause in the beginning, you know, is that we don't have to get monitored all the time. We can step out, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll were outcast things, and you
Yeah.
wanted to do them kind of, you know, under the radar, I per se, you know. So it's just different now. You know, they
Yeah.
got their eye on you everywhere you go.
So let's kind of talk about Pentagram a little bit, and we'll give like the, you know, the brief synopsis, so to speak, for those that might be unfamiliar with you. And if, you know, you're listening, you are, shame on you, because I mention Pentagram all the time on the show. So we got Pentagram. You guys formed in about, what, officially 1971, we can say.
71, yeah. We had
And
the
that was
idea on Halloween 71, and Christmas Day 71 is the first rehearsal.
awesome. So that was you, Jeff O'Keefe, Vincent McAllister, and Greg Main. And you kind of, like, you know, from all of my little research and just following you guys for so long, you guys really spent like half a decade just coming up with this sound, and then, you know, getting these demos done. And, you know, if you haven't listened, people should know, you know, First Days Here, that's one of, you know, a compilation of all your guys, a real original early 70s stuff. It's, you know, to me, essential metal, heavy hard rock listening for anybody, you know. Can you kind of really briefly explain that road that led to the formation of Pentagram? I know we have, you know, bands like Space Meat that was kind of and Stone Bunny and all that people won't recognize those names, obviously, but, you know, they're like all bands. There's this kind of growing process that you guys went through.
Yeah, we went through a kind of growth spurt in the way that we changed. I mean, we changed our name you know, we went from Pentagram to Virgin Death to Macabre to Wicked Angel and back to Pentagram. But that was all inside of 6 months, 8 months. You know, the first demo single, Be Forewarned and Lazy Lady, were released under Macabre with a misprint, McBree. And you got an extra 500 copies for nothing. But, you know, we went through all those changes, and we weren't really into, we didn't focus on let's do this style or that style. We just played hard rock and played loud. Loud was a major thing back then. See, bands couldn't afford amps like they do now. They didn't have technology where you can find a little tiny setup and make it sound great big and that kind of thing. So the more amps you could get, the more you built your arsenal up, you know, and the more attack you had. And that was what we kind of, you know, when Jeff and I heard on the Blue Cheer thing, we just kind of want to make a loud, powerful thing, kind of knock you over. It was like, yeah, that's what we want to do. You know, just knock people on their ass with the sound.
It's almost kind of that very anti-60s, anti-hippie almost kind of movement, instead of doing the, you know, that folk, you know, Bob Dylan, you know,
yeah, in a way,
all of them, you know, that kind of, you know, that whole opposite of soft, the, you know, trying to really, like, you know, knock people awake in a way.
Yeah, it was. You wanted to startle them, you know, and make them jump up. You know, it was like you want them to put their ass, you know, on the edge of a pin and go, wow, you know, sort of thing like that, you know. And then volume was a big major thing back then. Unless you had the money or some kind of resource and backing, you couldn't have all those amps.
Yeah,
they were too expensive in that time to buy those. You know that, Steve.
As Steve's sitting here on camera with a big ass amp to his right.
It's all still expensive. I mean, especially considering.
Wait a minute, we lost him.
I think Steve fell into the void of the internet. As I made fun of his amp that was sitting back there. I think
big amps are really important to me still. I complained when we went on 2019 tour in the US, we're just not freaking loud enough anymore.
But
we need that
really advanced tube technology or anything.
You're back.
Yeah.
Okay. What were you saying before? What did you say? Now you're not.
And now we lost him again.
Now you're not. All right. You must be peeking out the mic at 1 decibel.
Yeah. Steve being the tech guy is not living up to his moniker right now.
This is a very disappointing thing that keeps happening. I'm just losing it. My internet's just going in and out. We've been having weird storms back and forth in Jersey, so everything.
That's one of the sucko things about technology.
Yeah.
You have to cater to Mother Nature too.
Yeah.
And technology has to cater to itself. You know, we didn't make it perfectly because we built it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna leave the video off for now, and hopefully that keeps my my connection stable. But don't worry, we're gonna leave this all in because we don't care that our listeners are gonna be paying for this. It doesn't matter.
It's real this way, all right?
That's
you know,
right.
being real is also making a bunch of fucking mistakes.
The fuck ups included.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So on the amp thing, I know I missed Scott probably making a very good joke making fun of my amp. So how many amps would you say that you were rocking with then? In what did you do to make them louder or anything if you couldn't get more?
Well, we didn't have a lot of amps. It was just cranking them all the way and overloading things. But we had, you know, I mean, I like to use for the guitar, I like 5 cabinets on stage at least. Yeah. You know, for the bass, I like 2 SVTs, 3 SVTs. You know, and when Greg Turley plays, he's got 2 500-watt Laney heads and 3 SVT cabinets.
Holy fuck.
You know, and I want it fucking loud, man. Yeah. I want that impact. I liked it when the bass. When I used to go to a concert, I liked it when the bass literally made you almost throw up.
Oh yeah, when it's just hitting you in the center of the chest and the stomach.
You an
and the bass drum was even knocking at you. Yeah. Boom, 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 and you felt the impact physically. I like that. You know, so I'm not a masochist, but goddamn, man, when it comes to music and sound, I am kind of in that way.
Well, there is kind of makes the whole, you know, phrase of feeling the music, like, you know, literal in some sense. Like the best concerts are when like you feel your bones and your teeth like vibrating inside yourself because you're just being blasted. Yeah,
the first time I saw the Stooges on tour was during the Funhouse tour, and they were set up in a cafeteria, a multi-purpose room it was called, and it only held like 400 people, and the guy went up just to check the wah-wah pedal, and when he plinked the cord with his thumb, it was beep, beep, and we jumped off the floor. And I loved it. It was like, yes, this is going to be loud, man. It's going to have impact. You look at bands like Grand Funk in the old days. Jesus Christ, were they loud. Oh, my God. It was an assault of the senses.
Yeah.
You know, literally. And I like that. You know, I still love it now.
I like that you mentioned the Stooges because it's a great little segue. I love when this happens. So you Sonny Vincent of the Testers, you got Jimmy Recca of the Stooges. You guys formed The Limit, which I mentioned earlier when I was introducing you. And I know you guys dropped an album called Caveman Logic that I've been listening to the last couple of days to kind of get me pumped for this, which is a whole lot like this, old school sound and pedigree of all your bands together. And that experience has to be insane for you. I mean, you're playing with Jimmy Recca of the Stooges. Like that's outstanding.
Well, it was a lot of fun doing it. I love doing that kind of music. I've always been a street punk at heart, and kind of and the Outcasts and this and that, the Dark Horse in the situation. And it was really cool blending the styles. Sonny and I have a good writing rapport, and we really did a lot of the fusion of the classic punk and classic hard rock. I think, I'm really happy about that album. A whole lot more than the other one.
The thing I noticed when I was listening to Caveman Logic was there is kind of this, it's not just I don't know how you want to describe it. It's not like the 80s party Van Halen hard rock that's just
not
like
at all.
No. There's almost a little bit of melancholy to it, but it's still heavy. It still has some sort of emotional basis and reality that's not talking about how hot your teacher is and stuff.
No, right. It's like it's got the despair, that desperate, hopeless, pleading feeling to a lot of the things, very from the heart. It's not just the light subject of let's play rock and roll at the party and screw the backseat. So it was a lot of fun. I hope we can get this second album finished. We're already working on.
Oh, so you're already working on another one then?
Yes, but I can't talk about it yet.
Well, that's fine. I guess we'll let you keep the secrets for so.
That's the social media restraints.
Yeah, I can't have you getting served by somebody because you mentioned something, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We at least got a tease there. Kind of talking about that melancholy and that kind of emotion. If people maybe might be more familiar with you in a way because of Last Days Here, which was this documentary that followed this very unflinching story of your addictions and
right.
the suffering. I mean, I'm someone that struggles with addiction that's been clean for over 4 years now, and when I first saw this movie, I was kind of in the middle of it, and I don't want to say it was a wake-up call in a way, but there was some sort of like I felt your spirit in a way of how you were kind of going through that. Yeah, an epiphany in a way, but just understanding those secret fears that you have aren't that secret. When you did that whole experience, was it any way beneficial to you? I mean, obviously we see through the movie or through the film that you went from being in the sub basement to being on stage, but I mean, was it actually a really positive experience with everybody that was with you, or did you kind of feel at times,
no,
why the fuck am I doing this?
No, it was a positive experience. I wouldn't let them do the movie unless they filmed it 100% real. I told them, look, I'm all fucked up. I got bandages all over me. I got open sores here and everywhere from shooting dope and, smoking rocks and all that kind of stuff in the life. And I wouldn't let them do it unless they kept it 100% real. So it did help at that stage in the game.
Well, that's good.
I felt back at it again. It happens over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I've been doing real well the last few years, and 4 or 5 years now, and I haven't shot any drugs now, 9 years at least. So
that's awesome to hear, bud.
I'll try to keep my shit together. It's I'm getting older. When you're in the twilight, it's like, why did I do all this stuff? Why did I wreck myself all up? But I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't, because it was all chalk it up to wisdom, which only comes with age and having done it. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really learn unless you experience it in a way.
Right.
Guys like us have kind of experienced probably too much, at times. But
there's a lot of overload to it, but overload's part of the game. Life is overload anyway, right? And then we have the fun of dying, and then it's doomed forever.
And then there's the doom.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things in Last Days Here that I feel like people sometimes might miss is that, your mom and dad seem to be huge supporters of you. Your mom, especially, Diane, just seemed like a fireball.
They were great. Yes, I miss them both dearly, and I love them both very, very much. I never had any broken home or any abuse or any of that kind of thing throughout life. My folks were married for 65 years.
Wow.
You know, my mother just passed away a year ago in February, and my dad's been gone about 6 or 7 years now, and 6 years, and you know, it hurts. You know, all we've got is that reflection of the past. That's all you end up with in the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funky deal. You know, but such is life, you know. You strive on, man, and we're a creature of hope. We live on hope, and that's what keeps us going. The hope that there will be a future. You know, that's why the kids, to me, in the young generation, they're listening to Pentagram now, like especially the kids 18 years old and stuff like that, they come to concerts. My eyes light up because it's like, wow, I'm getting to touch another generation. And it's really touching. It really is.
That's
I'm a sensitive guy. I'm a soft at heart, really. I am. But I'm into the wicked up on stage. I want to assault.
Yeah.
I still want to bring it, you know.
Well, it makes them, you know, that's the thing. I think that's why it resonates. So the music resonates because can be such a visceral experience, especially live. And
Absolutely.
I think it's how you get through to people, you know.
Yeah, that's it. You know, the albums are on a different road, just as important because they're the indelible ink that you know you'll leave forever.
Yeah.
But the concert, it's the moment that counts. Right. Definitely, you know that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So one of the things, obviously, we've been dealing with this whole COVID pandemic, and you know, in just the history of Pentagram, you guys have had so many lineups and different guys. And when we were talking before, you know, Steve jumped in that you guys are going to be touring in Europe, Scandinavia, South America. I mean, obviously that's going to be huge. You're going to be on tour again after a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's hard to get back in the swing. It's really taken us an awful lot of time. We're supposed to have our first rehearsals now since 19. Our last trip on the road, our first actual rehearsals are coming in March. You know, we haven't played together since then at all. We've only seen each other once, you know.
When does the first tour start? Because then you have March. You got some time to get the pipes warmed up and everything? And
I really haven't, you know. I can't sing loud here in the house. I'm afraid I'll wake up the neighbors with the screaming. But but you know, I don't want the cops here. That's for sure.
Of course.
But you know, I have to warm up, and we have to start practicing because our first tours, we're trying to get some US dates, about maybe 10 or a dozen or something like that, first as a prerequisite for going over to Europe again. Not that the States are any less, but our biggest following has always been in Europe. Yeah. And they go nuts over metal over there. And I've always said in interviews before, they seem to appreciate the performing arts a lot more in Europe in a general sense.
I think that's true. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
they're more artistic, and they're also isolated cultures of people compared to the mutt population we are here, of everything all thrown into one. So you've got different strokes all over the place. But in there, when they like metal, this country, they know they love metal, and they're all together on it. You know, everywhere you go, it's little different pockets, and it's profoundly interesting.
Is there any specific country or countries that you enjoy playing in the most?
I like playing in the Scandinavian countries. I love Sweden, Norway. Norway's a real trip. It's just so beautiful there. Norway and Austria are the most beautiful two countries I've seen in the world. Spain, the people go absolute bonkers. And Greece, they tore the place apart physically. It was like, God damn. Yeah, they go pretty nutty over there. You know, but there's no one real particular, you know, just those few to name, you know, here and there. You know, but all the countries are impacting on me, you know, because they all have a different cultural thing. You know, Germany is always fun. We've played about 15 cities in Germany, different ones, and they always go crazy there. They appreciate it a whole lot. They're seriously into the music in depth. Yeah. You know, as we are here. You know, they tear it down and build it back up, you know, 100 times over. They're really analytical about them.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, they're very analytical. So, yeah. But we're trying to do these dozen or so dates in the U.S. first, and it doesn't look like, it looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to get back to the West Coast again in 22, and because it just looks like too much to put together right now on short notice. But the Northeast and the Southwest, like all the way out as far as Texas and out as far as Chicago in the North, we're
When
gonna
you
try
said
to
Chicago, that's all I needed to know.
Chicago, we always play, we play Reggie's in Chicago, and
Yes.
I forget the other place, what's it called.
Reggie's is my favorite venue in Chicago for a whole lot of reasons.
They're great there.
I always have a
They're
good time
really
at Reggie's.
professional. They're very professional about their operation there, and their hospitality is good, and they appreciate it too. Chicago crowds love Pentagram. Yeah, they definitely always have taken to us.
Are you going to be stopping in New Jersey, or am I going to have to go all the way over to New York?
New York's going to be the trip.
Oh.
You know that.
Oh boy.
It almost always is.
We played in 19, and we had to play a DIY club. What's it called? A DIY, whatever. I don't know what the hell all acronyms are, but some little hole in the wall. We had to play in New Jersey. It was fun, but it was a last minute thing. We usually we played St. Vitus Bar a lot in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
of
they're
course,
great.
maybe the Academy, those kind of places too. If we have a bigger venue. But New York is a major hotbed for Pentagram. Always has been. Always will be.
Of course.
Who's
gonna be touring with you?
Don't know.
Or playing with you? And not done nothing lined up yet.
Don't know. Can't really say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everything's still up in the air for so many people.
Oh yeah, of course.
Knowing if
it
they
really
even
is for us too. And that's why I don't want to venture to say. And then people say, "He told us that." That motherfucker. Yeah.
That's how the internet would be too. So.
yeah. There's always somebody. There's always a fly in the ointment somewhere.
Exactly.
So if you got all these tours coming up, I'm sure the temptations have been there beforehand, but are you nervous about touring? Because I've been backstage to a bunch of shows, and it can be a lot of fun. It can be really tempting at times. Do you feel like I know the guys in the band are obviously going to have your back, but and keep you on the straight and narrow. But you got any nervousness about it, or are you just feeling like at this point?
Just the butterflies. Just the butterflies that you always get. I'm not nervous about that. I'm very secure about what I want to do and what I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very concrete about that nowadays, and the road is for the show and not for the fuck up, and it's grueling enough, and it's hard, man, when you're only getting a few hours sleep every night and constantly traveling. This year we're probably not going to use a nightliner for Europe. We're probably going to tour in a van because of expenses and keeping them down and stuff like that. So it's harder. We're going to have to stay in a hotel every night, and the hotel can't be the party hotel anymore because you're only, if you're sleeping 3 hours, man, you're dead on your feet. When you get in that hotel, man, it's like, I want to crash. You're not ready to get up at all, and it's the bus call comes in the morning, and you're back out there. So I don't really think it'll be butterflies in that way. You're not nervousness, but butterflies. Yeah,
sure.
Butterflies. It's always. It keeps you on your toes, man. It's touring is not easy. People just don't realize. I have this feel. How much would it cost you to come out and play at a party in Iowa? Putting.
Does somebody actually ask you that?
Yes. Yeah. People ask that kind of thing all the time. It's like, how in the hell can I don't structure all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So many people behind the scenes and so much setup and planning and, just the whole commodity is a big business now,
Even just like the few times people have asked me to do things around here, it's always like, I never have to tour or do anything. But especially just me and my little bands or whatever, we have to bring all of our stuff. It's like, it's like, well, what do you have? Because if you're paying me and I need to bring, 3 amp heads, 4 cabs, everything.
A lot of organization.
Yeah, it's like you're not just charging you for the music. Like,
yeah, people don't realize that stuff. It's not just a bunch of teenagers out there on the road. When you're on the road, man, it's different than just playing gigs around locally and that kind of thing. We never used to have a problem with that. It was like, so we'll just throw it in a couple pickup trucks and get up to the place. It's 20 miles, but goddamn, everything's got to keep functional and keep rolling and stuff like that. So it's tough. Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of physical labor to it. Like I used to roadie for some local bands and just like help them like move stuff, and it was exhausting. Like my dad was a roadie back in the 80s for a bunch of different thrash bands, and he was built like a brick shithouse. And he'd be like, that shit will kick your ass if you don't even, if you're not even remotely in shape. Yeah, which I am absolutely not.
We make sure we have a couple of big guys on the road, and one guy to serve as a driver and a roadie, both at the same time. Plus, so you got to figure. Then there has to be another guy because he doesn't get sleep, and hopefully one of the band guys can drive a little bit, And there's just so much shit that goes into it that people have no freaking idea.
Yeah,
they think it's just this easy deal. Oh, just go out and have fun. Yeah, have fun is the hour and a half you're on stage. The rest is really grueling,
Exactly.
It is. It takes its toll on you, man. I've been out there a lot now, in the last 10, 15 years, and I never dreamt it would be like it is.
Yeah.
It wears you down. It was just like, well, I'm fine all the time. No, you're not, man. You got to keep yourself in order, and keep yourself in check. That goes back to when you were saying, do I have to watch anything, the nervousness and stuff? No, because I know what's at stake. And this is my career. This is what I've chosen for a job. But, it is, So that's where I have my fun, is the hour and a half relating with the people up on stage and telling my little stories and doing my shtick and, that kind of thing.
So speaking of that, we mentioned a little bit before about like the political correctness and whatnot, and one thing I want to touch on is this incident. I don't know if you want to call it, that happened in like 2016 or whatever. I guess that whole. I'm sure you've heard about this 100 times, but it's one of those things that if I actually try to look into and try to find any information, all you get is like a couple Vice articles or whatever. It's and what the front women said and everything. And what I'm talking about, for those who might not know, there were allegations from the front women of Wax Idols, who is Heather Fortune, and of King Woman, who's Christina Esfandiari. Their bands came off a tour and they released this joint press release to Vice, and they made several accusations of conduct, and of also, like, I guess they said that rape jokes were told on stage and whatnot. I have a couple questions here, but the first thing, of course, is what's your side of that whole thing?
Not guilty. It was a really trumped up thing. These people had a misconception of what was going on and blew it into their own proportions of mayhem, which didn't happen. The thing, I think, really, it was founded on jealousy of the merchandise being sold, and these bands thinking that they were supposed to get a cut of our merchandise money. And in rebellion, I guess, for that, they tried to trump up some kind of sexual, degradation accusations, stuff. It's a lot of mishmash. I really don't know the whole of it because it didn't happen.
Right.
And as it got blown up, you got these different escalations on the social platforms.
Of course, yeah.
That it goes to, where eventually I had some picket group come in New York, a women's picketing group, coming to a gig and carrying picket signs. And it was ridiculous, man. It just got blown up into something that wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah. No,
and he may have even touched me. Come on, let's be real, okay? If something like that, somebody would have been in the police station.
Yeah, I mean, the difficult thing with all these kinds of things when they come out is, of course, like you said, not just, it's fine enough, whatever, take it as a primary source that they put out this release. That's at least coming from them. But there's so much other stuff that always gets built on top of this. You have the third article that's written about our last article that was written about the first article that was written about the press release. So that's why I wanted to clear it up. It's nothing, accusatory.
Yeah, eventually it goes around in the telephone conversation circle where you're whispering the guy's ear, and then at the end it comes out and the sentence is all wrong.
Mm-hmm. Since that though, even if nothing happened in your eyes, have you thought to curb your behavior in any way, just to, at the very least, to not, have you become more aware of
become more aware, because I realized that the offended parties that could be out there are very, they're looking for any kind of bump in the road to attack. And so you got to watch yourself a lot more, and the things you say and blah, 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 and all of that. But I mean, if you don't like what we do, what are you coming to one of our concerts for? What do you want to be on the show with us for? Why, come on. I do what I do because people like it, not because I do it because I want people to hate me.
Of course. But do you think that perhaps, and now we're getting to like slightly headier questions that aren't necessarily related to just you, but as a whole, right? Because you're in a unique place to be able to talk about this. Do you think that perhaps, bands like them would want to get on a show with Pentagram because it's fucking Pentagram, like they're up and coming bands. So even if there might be something that they don't agree with, or, they might know specific things or have specific preconceptions that they would say, well, we kind of feel like we have to because this is a great opportunity for us. And then they feel like maybe they're kind of, I don't want to say stuck, but they're put into that position because they kind of are in that system.
I can understand that, but I still can't see why. I mean, I've had opportunities come in my life that I've known I want it. It's a great, media force and so forth, but it's just not for me. And I'm about that, I mean, the band is about what's going to feed the band overall best. And that's what I feel like other bands should be. And people coming to the concerts, I mean, like I say, why are you going? Why do you listen to it? Why do you bother with it? Why is it even an affected part of your persona of your life? So
yeah, there definitely is a degree in which
it's inappropriate. There
definitely is
just like certain behavior is inappropriate. So therefore, I'm mature enough to know, and having seen what can happen nowadays, to realize, well, you keep yourself, on a steady plateau, a steady platform, and you don't, veer too much to the left or right of that. It's like staying in your lane on the road, right?
Sure, yeah,
I
exactly.
went out a little bit, and the truck hit me head on.
Exactly. So just to be clear 100%, you definitely maintain that there was nothing on your end that should have been perceived. Okay.
No, it shouldn't have been perceived that way. It was ridiculous. And that got their theories and their insinuations got really shot down real fast when that stuff happened.
Do you think
because it didn't happen like they said?
Do you think that in general, that like your stage presence, or your kind of, almost your whole ethos, right? You're become this like larger than life personality in the scene, for lack of any other term, I don't know what to call it.
Okay.
I think it's very much so in line with this like old cultural conception of like what heavy metal is, kind of. Do you think that, if you're in that kind of line, and then you have incidents like the one I just brought up, that kind of is like almost like a death knell of that like heavy metal attitude that's kind of, you think maybe that's being lost in some way?
I don't know about lost, but maybe it just doesn't occur anymore like in the old days.
Mhm.
Social standards are so different now. You know, what's accepted and what's not is very, very different now.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, people perceive things differently, and people change. You know, we're a moving force all the time.
Right.
So I don't think it's necessarily that you're going to be looked at like the old school, because the old school let out.
Everybody graduated and left.
Yeah, yeah, and like so they if they see me that way, well, no, so be it. I can't please everybody. You can please some of them some of the time, all of them some of the
Yeah.
time, but you can't please them all the fucking time, right?
Yeah. Do you think that kind of that those shifting sort of cultural attitudes is beneficial, detrimental, or neutral to, you know, heavy metal as a genre? Do you think that's something that, because depending on whatever
I think it's beneficial or neutral.
Mhm.
Social media makes it now where it becomes negative,
Mm.
and so you got to meet in the middle. Like I said, you have to, you know. I don't think it's necessarily uh, negating anything or you know pro anything. It's just it is what it is. It's now.
Yeah.
Now you have to look at it for now. You can't look at it like I can act like I've always acted or do what I've always done. It's just you in the moment, and you adapt to the moments. We're a chameleon type of species, you know. So we
Yeah.
adapt to our moments. That's basically the best I can say about that, really. You know?
Do you think that with the way that social media is, and we're kind of at a weird crossroads where, you know, you don't really hear any new metal or anything on like the radio or anything, or, you know, there's so many, and not to sound like you know, people in my like, you know, my like the old record store kind of guys, if they don't make guitar music anymore or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, it's not as proliferated, but yet there are more bands in these genres that are known than ever because of things like Spotify and social media, where people delve into these like niches more specifically. Do you think that that kind of atomization of both music and culture as a whole is detrimental?
No, I think it's good.
You think it's good? No.
Yeah, I think it's good because people are finally getting their day in the sun who never got it.
Mm-hmm.
So many bands that got overlooked are, you know, the young generations, or you know, the one even down from mine one generation. And we're covering Pentagram's covered 3 generations of people already.
Yeah.
Even one down from mine is getting turned on to things that they didn't know about and going, wow, there's something fresh in that, even though it's not fresh anymore, but it's fresh to them. So I think it's an advantage.
Do you think that like hyper focus though, you know, right now I think we're in like a good point for it personally, but I worry that, you know, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, because of how hyper focused social media, the algorithms, everything makes us, that there's going to be this point where things are so spread far apart from each other that it's almost harder to have that overlap.
No, I don't think so. I
No.
think that no, I think that people are always gonna have, because you're gonna have new people approaching the genre of music, you know, the heavy metal in a broad sense type of music, on and on and on. We know that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're habitual, so anything we do is going to keep carrying on to the generations that go, you know, and more people are going to come into liking that. And I don't think there's ever going to be a time when they're going to say, like, for instance, Pentagram of Black Sabbath, oh, there wasn't really anything to it. In other words, you know what I mean?
Yeah, unless they're an asshole, no.
Yeah, tell them.
A few years ago, it was kind of documented that you had started to become more spiritual. A lot of the iconography and everything was pulled off of your stage shows and everything. Where are you at with that today?
I'm very, very spiritual nowadays. I don't push it down anybody's throat and shove it up their ass. I don't believe in that at all either, because that's not the right thing to do. But I personally, you're saying, I personally am very, very into that. When you get older, you start realizing your mortality is right around the bend. Heavy thing to talk about, but you realize, hey, there's something that I'm here for. I gotta be thankful for it. And so I pray a lot, and I'm alone a lot. Jesus God, of course, right now the phone's gonna ring.
I think it's interesting to have a spirituality.
All the solicitation people are getting off of work now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right. And they got to get their last call in. Do you need car insurance? I don't drive. Your car insurance needs to be updated, the spam calls. So but yeah, I'm very spiritual now, big believer in God. Been through went through the Satanism thing. Tried that out for the birds. Sorry. If you're into it, I respect that. And I respect everyone as much as I can now. I really cherish just being alive. That's what it comes down to in the end.
Do you find that your spirituality makes it difficult to reconcile with any of your older material?
No, I don't. Victor at one point had that situation very heavily involved, and he didn't want to play certain songs. To me, I don't find that at all. A song is just a song,
right? It's
an expression of the moment, and I don't think that you're going to get cursed if you sing these words or something like that. I just don't believe that. But this is just my personal thing. Of course, I respect when people feel like, no, I don't want to do something that's pro-evil because it's gonna come back on me. Hey, karma's a bitch, right? Sure. You never know, but I feel pretty secure about that. I'm secure where I am now spiritually, very much so.
How do you feel about people, especially it was big in the 80s and stuff, especially, or any time that there's like a shooting or whatever and they decide they want to blame Marilyn Manson or whatever? What do you feel about that kind of sort of scapegoating, which kind of is a claim for censorship, but kind of from a lot of those same ideas?
It's a lot of crap. It's just a lot of bullshit. It's like, come on. I've been the scapegoat for people for many, many years, so I'm very acquainted with that type of situation. And it's like, don't tread on me. That's basic it. Go find something else to pick your nose with. I'm not your booger.
That's gonna be the quote for this episode.
Yeah, it's not your booger.
No, I'm not your booger.
Yeah, I'm not your booger. Find yourself something else to pick at.
I think guys like you and me, Bobby, that have danced with the devil, so to speak. I'm not spiritual in any way, but I do have those. I don't know, those like existential crises, and I'm in my early 30s, and sometimes I've.
Well, that's a spiritual thing.
It is a spiritual thing, I guess, in a sense. I think I'm the type of person that is afraid of my mortality in a way, and I like to kind of hide it. And
you're afraid of it, so am I.
Yeah, so I mean,
but that's why I pray, and that's just my personal again. Some people are afraid of it, and so they shrug it to the side, like you're saying. Maybe it's, you don't like to think about it.
That's me.
None of us like to think about, well, I'm going to die. This is the whole trip, man. You're here, and it's a flickering blink in the moment, and then you're gone. So, I have a lot of downtime alone now. I spend 100% of my time reclusive alone with no people around me, ever, and I mean ever. Okay, the only time I even leave my house is to get a pack of cigarettes. which I smoke too many of, but I don't go enough. I should get out more, but I reflect on these things all the time when I'm sitting around, about just, I'm not going to be here that long. I got to get some more in. I got to get some more living in, living in the verb sense, doing things. I really need to, and when I sit around and I get too deep into these moments, it's depressing. And who wants to be depressed all the time? Nobody wants it. Even the people with acute depression, they're going to tell you first off, people that are going to say, I don't like this. It's no fun.
Yeah, depression fucking sucks. I deal with it all the time.
Yeah, we all want to have fun. It's fun.
Yeah, for me, I think my medication is bartending, because I'm a lot like you. When I'm not at the bar talking to people, I'd rather be sitting watching a movie or being left alone. It's kind of hard at times to reconcile your innate need to be social and to spend time with people.
But it is. But I feel that craving to want people, because after you've been alone for a good bit of time, and I mean alone, it gets pretty stark. It's pretty desolate, and it's lonely. I'm a very lonely person. I really am. I got to get out and see some people, man. I got to embrace some people just within my life, and it gets to be a drag after a couple of years like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the last couple of years, especially, have been, for damn near everybody, have been pretty isolating. I mean, I started this podcast and roped Steve into it because I was alone in my house. I had nothing to do, and I was losing my mind. I couldn't go anywhere. My girlfriend was hospitalized a bunch of times, so she wasn't even with me, and I had the need just to talk.
Just to talk. I talk out loud to myself all the time. I talk to the cat constantly.
Oh, I talk to the cat all the time. He's a great conversationalist.
Yeah, right. That's what you get back, right? And you wonder what it's saying.
Well, if you ever want to be the co-host of a horror movie podcast, you can always take my spot.
No, we can just take Jenna off. We don't need Jenna. We can just put Bobby in her place.
Yeah, I'm a horror movie in itself.
I'd be remiss to ask before we wrap up. Of course, since this is a horror movie podcast, what do you like horror movies? Do you watch horror movies?
You got one you want to shout out?
I love horror. Yeah, I loved, even though it wasn't on the lines of the other episodes, I'll call them, or sagas. The new Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another fantastic one. The one just made in 2022.
The one that just came out.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, because I thought that the cinematography was fantastic. The gore was done really excellently. The blood was real and so forth and so on. And I love that. I still like a lot of classical horror movies, but it's mostly reminiscing nowadays. I don't watch horror anymore. When you're growing up, younger people, they get into that shit, and it's exciting. It's like, wow, did you see his head fly off? It's like, after a while, it gets, another head rolled.
See one decapitation, you've seen them all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and but the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre is really cool. It's got kind of a plot to it, that makes sense and so forth, and I kind of dug it. Yeah, it's really neat. I love Leatherface. I'm crazy about the Texas Chainsaw things, and they're based on real.
Yeah, again,
which gives it that underlying haunt, which you want, because when you're watching a horror movie, you want to be scared, right?
Yeah. You want to have that
happens, sort of, or close.
So, what are you watching nowadays? Would you say?
Young and the Restless, General Hospital.
I watch a lot of episodes of Judge Judy. I get a kick out of this old lady, man. She's really funny, man. She knows her shit. I'm telling you, she really does. The people really respect her. She puts them in her place, and it's fun to see. I like legal stuff. I like courtroom dramas a whole lot. I've always enjoyed that. I've been in enough of them.
Yeah, you would think there might be like an aversion to it somehow, but I guess it's like immersion therapy, like when you're afraid of a spider.
Yes. I love the legal process and how it works, and finding out all the inner workings and stuff. I like legal things.
Maybe
psychological dramas too.
Maybe you want to get out more, make some connections. Maybe you can go to law school.
Hey, when I grow up, yeah, tell them, yeah. But I used to tell them I want to be a New York Yankee or a rock star. So be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah. True.
Anyhow,
Well, it's been so wonderful and crazy and
very surreal.
It's still
I had a lot of fun, guys. I did. I had a lot of fun. It was really fun, just being myself.
Yeah,
that's
exactly what we wanted. Yeah,
that's exactly.
To talk to some human beings.
Yeah, maybe we can have you on again whenever you're available and want to.
I'm available, man.
Yeah, maybe when you're done with your tour, you can regale us about Scandinavia and South America. Since you haven't been to South America, we can pick your brain about Brazil and all that.
I'd love to do that.
Awesome.
It'd be great. Keep the faith and keep on listening, guys.
I'm gonna try my best. I will always keep on listening, regardless. Bobby, thank you again. This was awesome. You just take care of yourself, man. I need to make sure you get to Chicago so I can see you. So
thank you, Scott. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, we gotta make sure you get to the next tour. Maybe the next time you'll make a little special stop in New Jersey for me. So I don't have to get on a fucking bus.
A lot of good guys in Jersey,
I could call a couple cousins. We'll work something out.
Oh God.
Yeah, there you go. I can't refuse, right?
Exactly.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Bobby.
Take care, man.
Thank you too. It's good talking. All right. Take care.
Take care, buddy.
See you, world.
Bye.
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 Whew. That was we did that.
Yeah.
We just talked to Bobby Liebling of Pentagram. I gotta say, I maybe it's because I was drinking a beer while we were doing this. I felt way less anxiety than I thought I was gonna have. Before you got in the room, me and Bobby talked for about 10 minutes, and I fucking talked to Bobby Liebling. This is really wild to me. Thoughts as we kind of wrap this whole thing up? I think my biggest gripe is that he said he liked the new Texas Chainsaw, honestly.
That threw me for a loop. I'm like,
I was gonna say something.
Gotta be nice to this old man.
I was hoping to be like, I really love Reanimator. I would have been like, yes. And he goes, I love Texas Chainsaw 22. And I was like, don't meet your heroes, kids.
I think that do we need to do like an intro or an outro or anything? Is this gonna be it?
Fucking cares? A Patreon. You guys are paying to listen to this, so
no, I thought that was good. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit in the next after hours as well. I do want to do a caveat of I really enjoyed that conversation, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that conversation or with anything he said. But I do want to caveat that we're not like necessarily agreeing or endorsing anything that he said, especially regarding Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But of course, involving like those allegations we brought up. I think it's important to actually hear something from his mouth and have that be out there. For what it's worth, it doesn't necessarily mean that means that whatever he said is exactly true.
Yeah, and just two sides to every story.
Sure. But I do think it's endearing to know that he is aware of that, and even if maybe necessarily it's a for a save my skin sort of thing, that he does seem as though he's kind of saying that he's being more watchful of being in those sort of situations or acting specific ways that might lead to that. So at least that was taken from it. I'm a big fan of Wax Idol's like decent, but I'm a big fan of King Woman, and I would never want Christina to be mad at me if I ever met her. So I mean that's part of why I wanted to do that. No, not just because of that, but because I do think it's important. I think it's he
comes from a different generation.
He comes from a different generation, but I also think that he was surprisingly soulful. I mean, you see some of that in Last Days Here, but just the actually just having a conversation with him and kind of just seeing what he's thinking about and where his mind's going with certain things, you can see that it's one of those things that he's a deeply complex guy like anyone else. And I think it's important to remember. It sounds so cliche, but like when we're talking about this kind of stuff, you still got to remember the person. I mean, he's not like some absolute fucking monster. It's not like we're talking about Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
So like, I'm inclined to believe people that say that things happen to them. So even with that caveat that might be the case, and he might not just have been perceiving it that way, or worst scenarios that he was outright lying, which I don't know. I think it's hard to consider that someone would be outright lying about anything. You can see that he's a guy that has beliefs, a guy that has feelings, and a guy that's like went through this stuff and has felt like backlash from what's happened. And I really don't know what, we're coming fresh off of this right now, so I really don't know what to think about that. So I'm sure we'll have more collected thoughts later.
Yeah, we're gonna have to process this. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about this whenever we do the next after hours. I think it might be good to bring it back up just to kind of let it
because I don't want to I don't want to say anything now that is either misrepresents what I think or what Bobby said or anything. So I'd rather do something that I don't usually do, which is just shut the fuck up. But yeah, it's something I really am gonna have to think about.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I don't know what I was expecting, but it really was this very, I think, like you said, like a soulful conversation. He's very endearing. I mean,
yeah, I never thought I'd say Bobby Liebling was sweet, but I mean,
he really was. I mean, just talking about talking about the genre to Last Days Here to everything. I don't want to kind of come off sounding like a dick, but I was kind of so shocked about just how, I guess, put together his thought processes were when we were asking these questions, and just the responses were so real.
Well,
it wasn't
if anything, it's a testament to the work that he's done into himself to get to this point, to stay clean. Like I said, he's been clean for a while now. He hasn't shot up at all anything in 9 years. I think
it's fucking hard. It's a fucking hard thing to deal with. I know, some of you listening or watching, if this is on YouTube at some point, you might not know it, but you might know someone. It's a deeply personal hell you go through when you're fucking dealing with addiction. And, like I mentioned really briefly, like I've OD'd. It's a fucking horrendously terrifying experience.
It wasn't cool.
No, unfortunately, even for me, I didn't see a white light. So that's kind of a
damn
scary thing. But
I was hoping it would be cool.
Well, I was cold. But I mean, it's so hard to I think eloquently describe that kind of constant dread you have. Like I've like I said, I've been clean for 4 years. Bobby's been clean, he says, for a while. I mean, this is a man that in Last Days Here he talks about how he's been shooting up fucking heroin for 39 years. That's a fucking, like, it's to go from that and to then be sitting on the show talking with us and just being just so nonchalant but sweet and thoughtful was something that I kind of wasn't anticipating. So I think we'll let this percolate. When we do the next after hours, I think we'll come back to some things, kind of look back. This is the first episode of Schlocked and Loaded, everyone. So you got kind of an idea of what we're doing. I have a series with, I know I've mentioned before on the show, Barbados from Susspace. We're talking about his comic Sad Sack. We got Peter Atkins coming on, waiting to hear back from some other people. Cough, cough, Connor Sweeney, Astron 6, waiting to hear back from that setup, guys, if you're listening. We got a whole lot in store for this. We're super excited for the Patreon, just to give you guys more content, because for some reason you want to listen to us. And we're hoping we can get more Bobby Lieblings and directors and people to talk to and have these kind of just honest talks,
Yeah.
And you know what? With that, I'm fucking done. I'm gonna go eat. So I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm tired, man.
All right, dude.
Bye.
Adios.